Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Cal. Only me today. I know, I missed the boys too. They just couldn't make it, but we must press on, so let's jump right into it. Microsoft has been dominating the news this week, and not for really anything good. They've decided to close studios Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Arcane Austin, if you remember, was the developer of Redfall, which we all know was not received well. Kind of a stark contrast to the love surrounding Hi-Fi Rush. They also closed some smaller studios. Well, they closed one, Alpha Dog, who was the creator of the mobile game Mighty Doom, and Roundhouse Studios is actually being absorbed by ZeniMax, the developer of Elder Scrolls Online. If you were one of the few people looking forward to more Redfall content, I have some sad news for you. All DLC is now cancelled. But there is a little good news. If you still want to play the game in its current state, even personally, I don't see why you would, the game will remain online to play. If you purchase the DLC ahead of time, Arcane says you'll be able to receive the value of the upgrade through their credit program, which I checked their website, it's still being finalized right now. This all started when Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, sent out an email and basically telling everybody which studios would be closing, blaming the cuts on the reprioritization of titles and resources. Some employees will be sent to other studios within the company, and others are getting severance packages. He gave a lot of corporate PR speak about how this isn't a reflection of their talented staff, but the company's moving and is shifting its focus towards their priority games, basically. Dinga Bakiba, who right now is head of Arcane Lyon, he spoke out with much disdain, calling it a fucking gut stab. He also says, quote, "Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as strawmen for miscalculations or blind spots. Don't make our work environments Darwinist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game? Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can. We've seen it before." It seems to me that regardless of how well the game does in this space, you can still potentially lose your job. Because the success of small games like Hi-Fi Rush or Rollerdrome, and Rollerdrome also received a BAFTA, they can't really compare to the monetary gains from like juggernauts like Call of Duty or Fortnite. Companies would rather take the risk on those than spend the money on a high profile one-off like Hogwarts Legacy. And if this is the type of precedent Microsoft wishes to set going forward, how can studios feel safe in an industry with a foundation that could easily crumble at a moment's notice? I honestly would not be surprised if some of these developers just end up leaving the industry altogether. I mean, imagine uprooting your family and moving across the country from one of these companies, and then you get laid off in 6 months, and now your whole family is homeless. There's a great article over at VGC by Julian Benson, and he's basically outlining how Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has significantly increased their revenue by 60%, with 55% of it coming from all these new teams. You have Mojang, the makers of Minecraft, and ZeniMax Media, the publisher for Bethesda, and those two are basically dwarfed by this acquisition. Last year, Microsoft reported a growth of 5%, which was equal to around 36 million. And with this new 55% increase, Microsoft now sits at 400 million. And now, because the gap is so wide, those investors don't really care about that 36 million anymore. It's chump change. A drop in the ocean in comparison to this new metric. What's going to happen when Hellblade 2 releases and their revenue is nowhere near at a level that can compete with Call of Duty? Is Ninja Theory next on the chopping block? How much does Hellblade need to rake in before Microsoft sees the entire studio as an unnecessary expense? These large companies are starting to move away from these singular games because investors just want to see constant growth. Which is growth Growth at a scale like this is only possible with live service games. Look at Warner Brothers. Even after Suicide Squad's terrible launch, they are still sticking to their guns and going for more live service, which is, they are completely disregarding the success of Hogwarts Legacy. Nothing will come close to a live service cash cow. They will continue to keep making them until one of them sticks. And speaking of Suicide Squad, Warner Brothers has finally admitted to themselves that the game was a disappointment. It was terrible, and they lost $200 million in the process. I'm really hoping people don't lose their jobs because of this, and I'm hoping Rocksteady can redeem themselves in the future and completely turn the game around. Because depending on what I see, I can see myself returning, but definitely not at this time. A lot of the game is just extremely repetitive, and traversal is just not fun. The city is boring. But all of that, whether or not they can turn the game around or not, that's all going to depend on the willingness of WB to continue supporting the game. I honestly just give them 5 seasons before they cut the cord. I will be surprised if they make it to 3, honestly. But yeah, let's talk about the upcoming Call of Duty. Microsoft has been debating whether or not to launch the game straight to Game Pass. Their Xbox president, Sarah Bond, she's given a lot of hints saying they'll probably move forward with the decision. She's basically saying that a lot of the core users love Game Pass, and they are planning on trying to increase the quality of these games as time goes on. This type of wording just makes me think that in the next 5 to 10 years, Xbox will cease to be a console. They will go strictly into software. Also, within the midst of these meetings, they're talking about a price hike, which that no longer surprised me, considering GTA Plus and EA Play have both went up in price. It's only a matter of time before Xbox follows, and unfortunately I'm waiting on PlayStation to go up. Microsoft said that their Game Pass numbers have become stagnant, and they really want those numbers to grow. And so releasing Call of Duty straight to Game Pass will act as a great hook for newcomers. Ghost of Tsushima is now restricted in the same countries as Helldivers 2. Even though Sony has redacted their decision forcing players to create an online account before going online, they've still delisted Helldivers from their countries, and now Ghost of Tsushima joins them. I do want to note, though, that the devs over at Arrowhead are still working on a solution with Sony regarding those restrictions, so hopefully they can work something out. Sucker Punch they did try to get ahead of the controversy a little bit, seeing what was going on with Helldivers, and I appreciate that they were transparent up front, but there's been a wave of platforms like Steam and Epic who've been canceling pre-orders in countries where PlayStation Network is not supported. I do want to clarify that the single player portion of the game, you can play that without the need for an account, but if you try to hop online with Legends, then that account will have to be made, or will just not be available if your country doesn't support it. Since we're all on the topic of PC ports, there is a rumor that God of War Ragnarok is getting a PlayStation PC announcement sometime this month, and it's being speculated that it could arrive during the PlayStation Showcase, which leakers have said it could be right around the corner. This came from Anthony Fertino over at Insider Gaming, and according to him, this guy's a reliable leaker. He's been right about news and announcements in the past, but honestly, the only thing we could do at this point is just wait and see. EA. Anytime that name pops up in the news, it's never anything good. And yeah, but EA is still trying to put ads in our games. Andrew Wilson said, quote, advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. That stupid word again. We have teams internally in the company right now looking at how we do very thoughtful implementations inside of our own game experiences. I'm so sick and tired of being sold to. I right now, the way I exist, I try to do everything I can to avoid seeing a commercial. I get commercials at the gas pump. It's getting insane. People actually write mute next to the button so you don't have to hear it. That's how, and the volume is like at full volume. Even if I get into my truck, close the door, I can still hear it. But yeah, I do everything I can to avoid seeing a commercial. And any subscription service that I'm using, I always go with the ad-free tier. Now, how am I supposed to avoid this if they're going to start putting them in my games? I'm fine if there's a McDonald's or a Bojangles, and Bojangles is for the Southern boys. I'm fine seeing those in my racing games, if an occasional drive-by. But God forbid I get a pop-up for another game as soon as I start the game up. People have been making memes about this, obviously, posting full-screen ads in the middle of boss fights, or, a major scene, like a major spoiler, like Shepard shooting Ghost and Roach in Modern Warfare 2, but I have a more realistic theory that EA has probably already talked of. But since $70 is already the standard price for games now, I can honestly see EA tacking on an ad-free perk to their deluxe edition. $10 more and you no longer have to see pop-ups in your games for stores or anything like that. I'm sure it has already been talked about. And honestly, we as gamers, the ones that exist right now, we can rage all we want to. But if this becomes the standard for the kids growing up now, then they will just see this as normal. And we will just all end up being old men and women screaming at the cloud, talking about back in my day, the game was only $40 with no DLC. You just got everything right there in the beginning. No update. Crack the plastic, put it in, ready to go. Those days are over. The future is here. And I'm not having fun, honestly. Some small things before I end the show. Prime Video has revealed the release date for the Batman Caped Crusader, the animated series, and they've shown some new images sticking to the original art style, which I love. The project, helmed by the original creator Bruce Timm, and with J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves tagging along, so some heavy hitters. All 10 episodes will be available for you to enjoy August 1st, so that's something to look forward to. This project was previously canceled by WB due to cost-cutting measures, which allowed Prime to just snatch it up, so a rare W we can award to a billion-dollar corporation. They are rare indeed. We're also getting a new Lord of the Rings movie titled The Hunt for Gollum, slated for 2026, with Andy Serkis directing and reprising his role as Gollum. Andy Serkis is also the one who made Venom 2, which I absolutely despise. But we will see what he does with this new movie. I'm all in for any Lord of the Rings content. Also, yes, I am pretending that Rings of Power doesn't exist. I felt like that didn't need to be mentioned. I also like that this is going to be an original story. They're not trying to retell the same trilogy, but with a different cast. I will lose my mind. One last thing, just a bittersweet moment, I guess. Hi-Fi Rush is being review-bombed over on Steam, but this time, positively. Most of the reviews read like obituaries. Most people just lamenting the loss of the studio and cursing Microsoft out all in the same sentence, which is warranted. I feel like the The studio deserved way better, and I wish the devs all the best wherever they end up, because they did not deserve that. You make a critically acclaimed game and you're still fired. Who wants to work for Microsoft at this point? But that's all I have for you. I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble for 15 minutes. If you liked the video, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't ring that bell so you never miss any of our future videos. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.